Well, it's time now for business, beginning as ever with a look at the markets. Firstly, how things closed up in the US on Tuesday. Losses across the board at the close of play on Wall Street. The Dow Jones and the Nasdaq both ending down around 1%. The S&P 500, meanwhile, ending down 3/4 of a percentage point. Well, as for Asia this Wednesday, it's a similar picture. All indices trading in negative territory. The Nikkei in Tokyo trading down 1.8%, a very similar picture in Hong Kong on the Hang Seng there. The Shanghai Composite trading down almost 1.3%. The Kospi in Seoul trading down near half a percentage point. Well, for more on what we're seeing there, we can bring in Han Tan, market analyst at FXTM. Asian shares hitting a 2-week low as we just saw there. What's behind this, do you think?
So I think as a whole, these regional stock markets are moving in tandem with global risk sentiment, right? There are concerns that stock valuations have just gotten ahead of themselves, or at least ahead of the economic realities. We are still amidst a pandemic. There are still attempts to try and come out of it, but we are already seeing some snags in the vaccines rollout from Europe to Hong Kong even, right? Also, what we're seeing is the central banks of China and Japan tweaking their respective policy support. So I think all that is weighing on risk appetite right now and dampening some of the optimism that investors initially had coming into this year on the back of some early signs of a global economic reopening.
And the US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen has told Congress that the US economy does still remain at risk.
Indeed, and both the monetary and fiscal sides of our U.S. policy want to make sure that they try and avoid the same missteps that they were perceived to have made on the back of the global financial crisis over a decade ago. So I think that's why Yellen is very adamant about ensuring that her message about the risk of doing too much is less than the risk of doing too little to help the U.S. economy really recover, right? So I think it also that given that the central bank and the Treasury are both using different lenses to measure their success, it remains to be seen whether markets can really believe that both the Treasury and the Fed can really pull off those kind of success, so to speak. But I think, long story short, we do expect both the Fed and the Treasury to continue being supportive and accommodative with their respective policy supports for the U.S. economy.
And lastly, what do you think we should be looking out for as the trading week progresses?
Yeah. So a couple of major things here. Firstly, you've got Powell and Yellen both giving more comments before Congress later tonight. And we have other central bankers as well, not just at the Fed, but also the ECB's Christine Lagarde and the BOE's Andrew Bailey, who are set to give speeches tomorrow. So if they offer more clues about their respective policy support, I'm sure markets are very open to reacting to those new signals as well. Secondly, there are some big Treasury auctions in the U.S. happening over the coming days. Remember that soaring Treasury yields, that really has triggered a lot of market volatility that we've seen over the past couple of months. So if demand for those Treasury auctions are weak, yields could pop again, although they have been moderating quite substantially this week. But they could pop again, and global markets could feel the effects once more.
Han Tan in Kuala Lumpur, thank you very much. In Germany, coronavirus restrictions have been extended until mid-April, much to the chagrin of the country's tourism industry. Hotels and holiday apartment rentals are to stay closed to tourists during the upcoming Easter holidays, even though international travel to certain destinations is going to be allowed. Claire Rush takes a look.
If you're German, a negative coronavirus test is all you need to board a plane to Mallorca. And after enjoying the sun and the sand, a negative test is all you'll need to return. No quarantine required upon arriving home either. Since Berlin eased travel restrictions last week, thousands of Germans have flocked to the Spanish island, a situation described by Germany's domestic tourism industry as unfair, because even as some international flights have resumed, hotels and apartment rentals in the country remain shuttered.
So it's okay to fly to Mallorca if you've been tested, but you can't stay in a holiday rental in Bavaria or elsewhere in Germany, even with a test? What's going on right now is simply incomprehensible.
Tourism professionals have staged protests following Berlin's extension of restrictions.
Last year, we proved that we can provide safe and secure travel. Hotels, airlines and bus operators within Germany proved that. We have to be allowed to do our job. We can do it.
Some representatives of Germany's aviation industry, however, argue that even small steps to allowing foreign travel are a plus. Two tourism groups, including Aviation Association BDL, estimate that further restricting international travel could cost jobs for more than 2,000 tour operators and 10,000 travel agencies. In the meantime, at home, Germany will extend lockdown measures until mid-April as the country grapples with a third wave of infections.